Hey everyone, this is Keisha, and I don't know how to do this, so I'm just gonna come out and say what has been on my mind for some time. I am I'm an addict. I am an addict. I am struggled with methamphetamines and fentanyl pills, cocaine, heroin, and I've struggled with a few of these off and on for the last 10 years or so, or maybe more than 10 years. The heroin and the fentanyl pills are new. I started off with cocaine probably back in 2004 when I got laid off at my job. This was my livelihood. I want to talk for a minute about abuse and narcissistic abuse. If you're anything like me, you might have been told that you didn't mean anything in your childhood. You might have been told that, or it was embedded in you, that you'll never amount to anything, that you should not feel the way that you feel. I have notes because I've been trying to do as much research on narcissistic abuse since this is what I was sent here for, to understand it, try to understand it. And not only did it happen to me, but it happened to my family and generations before us, I believe. It all begins, I believe, with incest and doing things behind closed doors just to remain, just so that so that people can feel powerful. If you have a royalty of a bloodline that has incestual celestials, that's a way of being considered royalty. I believe I was the scapegoat of my family because I didn't keep my mouth shut about something that I saw at a daycare when I was about 5 years old. And I was kidnapped and brought here against my will. And although my mother does look like my mother, I sometimes question because of the way that she's treated me. And even so, I can't take it back. I can't get that time back. And I just accept her for who she is. I try to meet her where she's at. But my mother has been hurt a lot, and that hurt came to me. And unfortunately, I subjected my son to the same hurt that I ensued, or that I went through. And I'm feeling terrible about it. Although my higher self kept trying to tell me, if you go this way, this is what could possibly happen. And I didn't. So much trauma has happened to me that I must have blocked a lot of it out, because I would have never in my right mind put my son in that situation, but I did. And I was hurting so bad that every time it seemed like something would happen, like a job being taken away from me or me gaining something, it seems like when the rug got pulled from underneath me, it just would send me down this freak out mode, because growing up in a narcissistic family dynamic, your anxiety level is on high all the time because they keep you on your toes. They let you get settled, so you can feel comfortable. And then sometimes they come around and they scare you, or they try to make you feel inferior to what they're saying. Or, there's times where I would wake up and, there would be eyes like right in my face at 5 years old to try to keep me from being, to keep me scared, to keep me, silent, I guess. But I can't stay silent anymore. What was done to me was done to my family, and this is horrible. I don't quite know what to do about it, but I want to help somebody else. If you're going through the same thing, having anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, chances are you were abused when you were a child, because we walked away from ourselves. At some point, we were not able to stand the abuse that we went through. And it was spiritual, and it was physical, and it was mental, and it was sexual. And I really need to vent about it, because I didn't have anybody there for me emotionally, and therefore I don't believe I was there emotionally for my son. I chose drugs over my son, and that's the biggest regret that I've ever taken, but also it gives me an opportunity to stay clean and to tell my story, and hopes that people that are on drugs will get off and tend to your children, because they're the ones that are hurting. We're hurting, but we're doing it in the wrong way. We are healing in the wrong ways. There's so much that I want to do and tell my son that I didn't mean to choose drugs over you, son. This boy has had nobody. He hasn't had me. He hasn't had his father. He feels abandoned. I was not there for him, and that hurts me to the core of my heart. So if I could stand here or just sit here and tell you, you know what, I messed up in a lot of my lives. Throughout my life, I have chosen all the wrong things. Narcissistic abuse, emotional abuse has really touched me at the core of my being, because it took me away from myself. I conformed to a standard that was not my own. And I believe I took on a religion that's not my own. I'm spiritual. I am a child of God, and the devil is a lie. And I want to help make people, well, not help make people understand me, but to try to become the most authentic part of myself, I need to talk about my pain and turn it into purpose, in hopes that somebody will be inspired and hopefully understand what I'm going through. And maybe because we didn't get validated when we were kids, right? We didn't get validated. We weren't seen. We were just like treated like trash our entire lives. And then when we were wanted, it was only for what we can do for our family. And it doesn't stay limited to family now. You can have a narcissistic relationship with someone, man or woman. It could be your coworker. It could be your boss. It could be, your neighbors. It could be anybody. It's not limited just to just family. And when you go through narcissistic abuse, you blame yourself, because that's what happens. You are the scapegoat. You get blamed for everything that happens in that family. And even when you didn't do anything wrong, the feeling that you get when somebody tells you something, that feeling gets into your nervous system, and it makes you feel nervous. And so when you are at a basal state, a resting state, you're feeling calm, relaxed, and then they come around with something else and say, oh, you did this, knowing darn well you didn't do it. And the gaslighting, knowing that you heard something that was disturbing, you ask them about it, and they say, no, I didn't say that. You must have heard me wrong. I didn't do anything. You are the cause of all these problems. This is your problem. This is your problem. So I grew up thinking that everything was my fault and everything that I did was wrong. I had a hard time learning in school. I had a hard time understanding conversations and comprehending my homework. There were times where if I had a question and I couldn't get the answer right, I was called dumb, and they didn't want to help me after that. Like, I've really suffered for some time. Being comfortable in my own skin has always been a challenge for me, because who I wasn't welcomed. Every time somebody would see me, they would give me a glare, or they would start talking about me third person, or like I'm not even, like, I'm there, but I'm not there. Like, like she did it this, or she did it that, knowing that, I'm just sitting right there. They didn't care. People don't care. A narcissist has no empathy for someone else. I want to say that they're all smarts and no hearts, because once upon a time, these narcissists were hurt as well. They were hurt, and somebody told them something that wasn't true, and they believed a lie. The devil is a lie. God says that we are the apple of his eye. Sometimes I can't accept anything positive, because so much negative has been induced in me for so long, and I just want to be able to feel free and confident in myself, knowing that I'm not a failure, that, I can make something of myself. And if it's a YouTube channel or a podcast or just these videos that I do help, then I'm doing my job. I'm doing the best that I can, because this right here, me recording myself, we don't do this. This is, Keisha was all the way broke down, didn't even know how to look at herself in a mirror, let alone a video. So I going to pat myself on the back because Jesus did die on the cross for our sins. And all the guilt and shame that was placed on me in my childhood, I carried into my adulthood. So what happened to me in my childhood, I am the sum of my choices. I don't deny that. But I used to get mad and found no positivity anywhere because I felt like if my family didn't treat me like this, I wouldn't have ended up like this. But, and I'm sure this is how a lot of people feel, but we are the sum of our choices. Just because our parents made mistakes with us doesn't mean that we have to make mistakes with our kids. And if you're listening and you're struggling with drugs right now, may I encourage you to seek help, because I'm going to tell you, even though you're hurting, your child doesn't understand that you're hurting with whatever you're hurting with. All they know is that mommy is unavailable emotionally, mentally unavailable for me, because we're choosing to use, and we want to use when we want to use, because our body is the mind. Our body is telling us when it's time to use again. Our body is telling us it's time to take that next hit. And I want to tell you, it disturbs a family like you wouldn't believe. And I just want to encourage somebody today to let God take over. I have relapsed. I have relapsed over and over again for so many times, and my son doesn't have any confidence in me, and I pretty much don't blame him, because I have not proven myself worthy of his of me staying sober. But I'm still a person. I'm still a child of God. I still have a heart that beats, and I still have a person that I need to be for me. I need to love me for me. I've been living for my son. I've been living for my mother. I've been living for everybody but me, and appeasing other people, and not understanding that God made me for a specific purpose. And I want to turn my purpose I want to turn my pain into purpose. So this is my first YouTube channel, or my YouTube video, shall I say. I'm kind of proud of myself for being able to just say, hey, I'm gracefully broken, you guys. I'm gracefully broken. I'm been through a lot and been rejected a lot, and felt like if I tried and failed, it would be another devastating move on my part. I know there's a lot of people that don't believe in me, and I know there's a lot of people that are just saying, what is she doing? And I question myself too, but I've been looking for love in all the wrong places, and just because the spotlight's on me doesn't mean that I'm not going to mess up. I'm human. I'm not trying to mess up. I'm not trying to continue, to do these things. I would love to see a different side of me, and a changed me, and I'm looking for validation, and sometimes I don't know how to give it to myself, but I'm teaching myself. I'm learning. Just staying sober every day is a journey all in itself, and I just want to help, and I hope somebody gets something from this. Like I said, narcissistic abuse and emotional abuse tears at our nervous system. It tears at the very core of who we are and what we feel, because what we feel is important. Words do hurt. I don't care what anybody says. Words hurt more than a lashing hurts, because when you're hurt, that energy, that word goes to that surge of that energy inside your soul, and it just does something to us. We want to be validated. We want to be loved. We want to be told that we don't want to be manipulated. And people who manipulate, they go for the most clever words. They go for the most clever, slithering, sneakish ways they can to get into your mind, and then get what they want, and then they throw us away like we're garbage. And we shouldn't be treated like that. We're women and men I know some men that have gone through some narcissistic abuse by females, and either way, it doesn't make it okay. So I just want to say, be careful out there, and when you're dating, and how people choose to treat you. You don't have to be treated like a less than. I'm trying to start something new within myself by venting, and hoping that somebody will get something from this. This more venting about narcissistic abuse coming soon. Again, I'm your girl, Keish.